What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
Hey, Ben, and we have just set the round of 4 for the championship 4, actually, for all 3 of the top series, and it is indeed another Motor Monday, so let's get into it here as we're in this last Monday of October.
Believe it? Last Monday of October. We've only got 3 shows left here. That's kind of crazy.
Indeed, we do. And just a disclaimer, a little under the weather the past couple of days, so might be using the cough button for some sniffles, but Ben has a lot to say today, though, so that's the great news, or you might even think the interesting news, because it's a ball blast season once again.
Yeah, well, you should have known, considering it was the Martinsville cutoff race in the round of 8. I was probably going to have a lot to say. Although I wasn't expecting to have as much to say as I said last year with all the team order shenanigans and everything, but saw a couple of tweets before we came on the air that have sparked a reaction out of me, and I want to share that with you all here. I got to be careful to make sure I don't get fired tonight. What the heck? We've only got 3 shows left. Who cares at this point, right? I feel like Ricky Gervais on the Golden Globes when he said it was the 5th time and last time. Who cares, right? We'll keep it as professional as we can here, though. Obviously, I'm just joking around, messing around here a little bit, but we do only have 3 shows left here, so thank you all so much for continuing to support the show, and especially our Patreon supporters. If I can find the graphic, StreamYard continues to move some things around here, but there we go. Colin, Deschelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew, and Crystal, our newest Patreon supporter. Thank you so much for continuing to support this outlet, and if you like what you see tonight, you want to continue supporting us, even though we only have a few more weeks left to do it for this version of the Encore show at the very least. This team is still fired up and ready to continue building what the Grid Network is trying to build here in 2026 and beyond. And we are certainly going to be cheering them on every step of the way. And if you want to help support that, you can follow the link to our Patreon page in the description box below. Or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link also in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, if you are, we now have, we now have the Super Chat and Super Thanks features enabled as well. We're only 2.5 minutes in and I'm losing my voice over here. We'll see how this goes, but Brandon, I got to tell you, and I know you said you hadn't seen the tweets before we came on the air here, but I was going to save this for the end of the Xfinity and trucks discussion, but decided I'm fired up enough. We might as well lead off with this here. And again, if you want to chime in at any point, you certainly can. You also don't have to say a word here because I certainly have enough to say myself. But
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Fire away.
I've been having some conversations with a couple of different group chats that I'm in over the last few weeks. And I've said so many times on this show, on other shows on this network, I'm sure I've said it on Grid Tonight at some point over the years. I've said it in those group chats before, that I firmly believe in the validity of a full season, 36 race tally of season-long points to determine a champion. I'm not a fan of resets. I'm not a fan of stage racing or stage points, even though that's kind of a separate discussion. Playoff points carrying over, trying to explain this to the casual fans that this system supposedly chases. I just think it's all over the top. And I think the easiest and most simple to understand way of crowning a champion in a sport like auto racing is to tally up all the points at the end of the year. Whoever gets the most points, or whoever wins the race gets the most points, all the way down to last place getting the fewest. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year, they're your champion. Apparently this opinion is not widely shared throughout much of the media personalities in this sport or the fans in this sport. You've been on NASCAR Twitter over the last 12 years that we've had this format. You certainly have seen those discussions or probably been a part of those discussions as well. But I've always said that as strongly as I believe in the full season, I am willing to come to the negotiating table because I try to be a realist. I understand that those days are gone. Can we at least get back to a 10-race chase like we had from 2004 to 2013? Can we at least do what it sounds like they are strongly considering, and that is make the final round multiple races? So that it doesn't, at the very least, come down to a single race. Anything would be better than what we have now, where you take 4 drivers and it comes down to 1 race. So that means if you have an engine failure, or if you get taken out by a lap car, or if you cut a tire and hit the wall, your entire season rides on something that is liable to happen in a sport as chaotic as auto racing. I'm not a fan of that. But I've been willing to compromise. I've been willing to say, hey, 10 race chase seemed popular. It's better than what we've got. If we can take that, I will happily do so. Over the last couple of weeks, I've seen interactions like this. This is a tweet I saw right before we came on the air here. Moody talking about others being predictable after using the standard shill, perform when it matters response. And I try not to call the Dave Moody's and Daniel Trotters of the world shills because they are certainly entitled to their opinions, but this is so incredibly ironic to me. This is Opinions on NASCAR tweeting Christopher Bell's finish in the Cup Series playoffs. 29th, 7th, 1st, 6th, 3rd, 8th, 7th, 7.44 average finish in 9 races, better than all 4 of the Championship 4 title contenders. And then he sarcastically, to borrow the phrase from Mamba Smith, says, can't believe he didn't perform when the lights were the brightest. Dave Moody was not tagged in this tweet as far as I can tell. He had it come across his feed because it was retweeted often enough or liked often enough. Moody replies to this tweet and says he obviously did, but others performed better. All right, fair enough. What does Opinions on NASCAR William have to say here? Average finish in the 3-race final round. Bell, 6.0. Larson, 11.0. Briscoe, 14.0. Hamlin, 20.0. Byron, 20.67. Quote, performed better. Laughable, he says. Instead of attacking the argument, Moody goes on the personal attack and says, absolutely predictable. Your reaction, I mean. Like I said, very, very ironic that Dave Moody would call somebody else's response predictable, because I can't say I'm surprised that that's the direction that Dave Moody decided to go here. But it is just absolutely unbelievable to me that we continue to have these conversations year after year. And the people within the sport, again, they are entitled to their opinions just as much as anybody else is. But they either can't or won't attack the arguments from the side that I happen to be on in this conversation here, arguing, if not in favor of a full season, at least something other than what we have now. And instead of attacking the argument, they call the response predictable. Or in the case of Daniel Trotta, they say, we want to take the sport backwards. We don't want to move forwards. We want to take the sport backwards. And again, you want to talk about taking the sport backwards, just go take a look at the ratings, particularly this year in the playoffs, and tell me which direction we're exactly moving in that regard. But this is why I have decided, as of the last few weeks, I'm done compromising. I'm done compromising. And I hate, excuse me, and I hate to say it, but when this is the response that we get from people like Dave Moody, people that, again, either can't or won't argue against the arguments that we're putting forward, it shows me that we can't have a conversation in good faith. And if that's the case, then what is the point in trying to come to the negotiating table and trying to bargain and trying to say, well, I want this, but I'll take this, I'll accept this. I already, as I've said, firmly, strongly believe in the validity of 36 or bust. And so that is, even though it's always been the hill that I'm willing to die on, now a hill where I'm not even willing to compromise. So I look forward to seeing what this playoff committee decides. I look forward to seeing what happens next year. I think based on what we are hearing, we are almost certainly going to get some sort of change in our postseason format and how we crown our champions. But I'm going to tell you right now, straight up, if you think that a 4-race final round or a 10-race chase is going to shut me up next year, and obviously what we do next year is going to look a little bit different, you and I, Brandon, but I'm confident that we will be having these conversations next year in some capacity. If you think that I'm going to be satisfied or that I'm not going to be talking about this as passionately as I have been for the last several years, then you got another thing coming. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, Ben, well done there. You would think you would think that would be concrete evidence enough from Opinions on NASCAR. I would suppose, I mean, it's not even down to an opinion anymore. I mean, you either can say something about the concrete mathematical numbers of Bell having a better average finish in the final 3 race round. 6, last time I checked, is lower than 11, 14, 20, or 20.67. Now that, again, all the respect for whoever's behind opinions on NASCAR, all respect for the Godfather Dave Moody, and they're all entitled to their opinions, in my opinion. But the one common thread I've seen from official NASCAR brass is that this is one of the untouchable arguments. It's one of the untouchable areas from a certain core group, and I think they'll deny it. This is not I could call this a conspiracy, but they will deny it openly. But if there's one common thread between Mr. Dave Moody, Daniel Trotta, and all of that, the Sirius XM NASCAR radio clan, and everyone around that stature, it's that they will not give, they won't give many positive opinions, if at all, on that subject. And it's puzzling. Why would they all not do it? And the only place I ever find some real conversations about it is with the Dale Jr. download on Sirius XM. At least they will actually have conversations about it. Now the conversations are happening on X. You can find how Jeff Gluck's opinion has changed over this season alone. But it's just I have all the respect for these folks in these positions and their opinions. But when it comes down to mathematical numbers, I at least would like to hear at least I admit you've got a point, but just go ahead and say it. I like this format better. And just say that. That's all. No personal attacks.
Yes, and listen, we have Matt White is on grid tonight, and been talked after the race at Kansas. Like, you don't get that finish without the playoffs. You don't get the Hail Melon without the play. Like, he likes them, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But the difference between Matt White and a Dave Moody or Daniel Trotta is, I think Matt, I want to completely speak for him here, but the impression that I get is that he is at least open to understanding where I'm coming from and understands why I'm not a fan. And that's more the issue for me. It's not like, of course, Daniel Trotta is entitled to her opinion. Dave Moody's entitled to his opinion. Pete Pistone is entitled to his opinion.
But at that stature, it's a major conflict of interest if they have strong opinions against the sanctioning body in which they are employed by in some capacity or another. And that's just what it comes down to.
It definitely is. But again, my main issue is that you seem, again, either you can't or you won't at least understand why I don't like the system that we have. You can't accept that a reasonable, sensible person can look at this and say, I don't like that it comes down to one race, or I don't like that, it incentivizes, all the drama that we had last year with the team orders and everything. Or, again, I'll pull the stats back up here. Christopher Bell has the average finish, but and quite honestly, your three lower. Larson got in on points. He has the second best average finish. Your three race winners in this round, Briscoe, Hamlin, and Byron, they've got the three lowest. So winning makes those numbers irrelevant, right? They won in this round. That's all that matters. They automatically advance. And yet, in the exact same system, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, Carson Kvapil has never won a race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Daniel Hemrick edition.
Has never won a race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. They don't have to win Phoenix. Riley Herbst won last year. Justin Allgaier finished second. Like, Matt Crafton.
We're points racing, Ben.
They don't have to win the championship. They have advanced to the championship for not only never winning this season, never winning ever in their careers.
We don't have to win when it matters in this scenario. We just have to finish better than the other person. Oh, wait, that's points racing. Isn't that what we're trying to avoid?
It's and again, I talked about this, after the Roval, the greatest irony in a system where winning supposedly matters above all else. man, SVG stopped the field. He won by 15 seconds. And as soon as he crosses the line, no footage of the cool down lap, no footage of the radio celebration on the team already. We've got 2 boxes, and one's showing the battle for 13th and one's showing the battle for 20th, or whatever the heck it was. Points racing. You got your 1 point to the good. You got to get it. Or you're 1 point behind. Ross, you got to pull the Hail Melon 2.0 and completely dive into the last chicane. You got to get it for whatever it was, 18th. I mean, it's just that, and that's what you say we're trying to avoid by not having a season-long championship. Oh, he just had to finish 18th. Well, what do we have here?
Well, Dave Moody is on record. He's on
round of 8.
He's on record for saying the fans begged and pleaded whenever they changed to how they are now that they were tired of their driver having a good points day. He's so, kind of shifting the blame back to the fans. Well, this is what you asked for. You hated what we had, allegedly. So they changed things. And I wasn't around as heavily at the time when it was changed, but I have all good reason to believe that's what the outcry was from the fan base, because I know this fan base enough to know that whatever they have, they don't like. So that's nothing new.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, you're going to, I'm well aware that there will be people, like, you're going to see it if we do this, if we go back to a full season, somebody's going to have a year like Corey Heim and Connor Zilch are having in Xfinity trucks, and they're going to clinch the championship a few weeks early. Great. Good for them. I don't have a problem with that. I know there are going to be some fans out there that are like, well, that kind of takes the drama out of it. And again, if that's your opinion, that's fine. But you have to know, if you're the people making these decisions, that you are not going to please everybody. And again, just I think trying to chase that perfect answer, that perfect solution that's going to satisfy absolutely everybody in the sport. Like, you're saying, oh, well, if we do this, then we're going to have people complain. People are always going to complain, yep, right? Like, trust me, I've got a million things that I would change if I were king for a day, as Ricky Craven said last year. And I could just snap my fingers. Like, trust me, overtime would be gone, stages would be gone. I'd probably revamp a lot of, I don't have a business degree by any means, but I haven't been a fan of what the charter system has done to some of the smaller teams over the years. But
I would blow the budget with big motors, small blade.
Yeah.
We'd have no money left, but we'd have some great racing.
Yeah, probably rework it. I mean, again, this is not the only issue that I have with the sport right now. There's rules packages and all sorts of stuff. But this is, you're going to look back in the history books and you're going to see who the champion was on an annual basis. I mean, this to me is the most important hill that I'm going to die on here. And any other year, it would be the most important piece of off-season news. We do kind of have a lawsuit going on right now that, it continues.
It'll continue on into Christmas.
Yeah, come out about it. Yeah, I think there's another hearing today. I don't know. I haven't followed that as closely because, again, I don't have a law background, and a lot of legal speak just goes over my head. And I know not to inject myself into a discussion where I'm not as educated. I don't know as much of the terms of what I'm talking about here. But, I mean, again, I think you look at, and you even saw it, I think, I forget when he made the bots comment, but I believe that was Mike Ford, right? Mike Ford says, a lot of the noise you hear is just bots on social media or people.
Yeah.
And yet he was the one a few weeks ago that was on, I forget if it was Dale Jr. Download or Door Bumper Clear. It was one of those two, I think. But he said there's this idea that everybody in NASCAR is against the idea of a full 36. There's at least one person, and that would be me. Pete Pistone a few weeks ago saying, well, I could make an argument for or against both sides, to be honest. That is much different than the tune he was singing 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is momentum brewing. The tide is turning in favor of one side of the argument, and yet people trying to argue the other side, they're so predictable. Or let's move the sport forward, not backwards. They want to move it backwards. I hope that NASCAR doesn't listen to them. I'm sorry. It's just the wrong approach. I am done compromising with that attitude. 36 or bust, that is the hill that I'm going to continue to die on.
I would rest, maybe not die, but I would rest on getting back to I honestly, my realistic expectation is to come back to a 4 race. No, well, not back to, but to a 4 race championship 4. I really think that that's all they're willing to move right now, and we're gonna have to be okay with that. But we'll probably find some flaws in determining the champion in that way too, because it's a small sample size still.
Well,
I mean,
and again, I understand that, and I will again. Of course, I would prefer anything over what we have now, but you start moving back from what we have now, and you say, we're going to have a 4-race final round here. Well, you're already, and Brock Beard, I think, has made this point on his streams too. You're already moving back in the direction that says, well, you have to have a points tally over multiple races. And maybe we decide 4 is still too small of a sample size. So then we say, okay, we'll go back to the 10-race chase. You just keep trending in that direction. What you are doing, I think, perhaps unknowingly, is admitting that
you are wrong. You were wrong.
The best way to tally up.
I've been saying it since the show started that love NASCAR to death, but as a business, one thing they cannot do is admit when they are wrong. And I guess it's not good business to do that. But I've yet to ever see the president to say, like, you know what, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. Now, if you have that example, feel free to leave it in the comments. But I cannot remember a time in changes since 03 saying, you know what, that was wrong. Let's put it back. It's always keep pressing forward. I like what we're seeing. It was a good, we got our champion, Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting. And I guess Steve O'Donnell's technically the president now with Steve Phelps moving into the commissioner role, but whoever's at the State of the Sport press conference in Phoenix this week, boy, it's going to be very interesting to listen to what those conversations are going to be with the lawsuit going on in the background and with obviously the discourse surrounding the championship format. Will this be?
I know one thing. I would not want to be Steve O'Donnell next weekend. That's the last person in the world I'd want to be. So, hope he has some kind things to say. Hope the people interviewing him are going to be kind too. Please keep that civil, because that could get crazy.
All right. Well, let's go to the chat room here. Some comments from our fearless leader, Joe Samaniego. Good to see you, Joe. Thanks again for everything that you do for us. He says, watch as soon as there is a change, the SiriusXM NASCAR group will praise the new system. We'll see. I guess we won't know until that happens. Again, I know there was a tweet from Pete Pistone that said if they go to a full 36, I'll continue to say it's a mistake, because he thoroughly believes in the validity of what he wants. And again, he's entitled to that opinion, but we'll see if the tune changes over the first couple of years of whatever system we decide to go to. And then Joe adds, I remember TMD on SiriusXM opposed the idea of option tires, but after NASCAR brought it to Richmond, they call it brilliant. Yeah, well, and again, that's one that was a brand new thing that I think you had to, if you're being honest, you had to wait and see. I was also more open to the idea, and I still want to see it on a road course, because I think that it would work better if we took it to a Sonoma or Watkins Glen or Coda or a place like that. But again, anytime you're trying something new or introducing something new in the sport, I think you at least have to give it a couple of races before you make a judgment call too strongly one way or the other. And good to see our friend Matthew Owens in the chat here as well. Yeah, I'm just tired of the conversation. I'm worn out with it.
That's the main deal. Just ready for this for these 3 champions to be crowned, and let's just go ahead and hear what we're up against in 26 and see how it plays out. But yeah, tired is worn out. The lawsuit, the points, the way we decide our champion, all of it.
We could run 50 races and one gets selected at random to be a race that awards 1 million points to the winner, and that one decides the champion, and I'd be fine. Just give me good racing. Yeah. Again, Matthew, I get what you're saying, and I understand that, for some people it's just in their blood and they love this sport to death, and they're not going to concern themselves with, the business aspects of it or decisions like this. But I think when it comes to crowning a champion, what is the point of crowning a champion in all of professional sports? It's to highlight who the best team or driver or individual or group or whoever was over the course of the season. And we can't even seem to agree on that. And so we say, well, we've got to have maximum entertainment value, and that means it has to come down to the last race between multiple drivers, and this is what we're left with here. it's just it's that way of thinking just doesn't sit very well with me. And again, if you want to know why, there's 4 years worth of episodes of this show that you can go back and watch. We're already coming up on
almost every Monday. Yeah,
we do have 2 races to recap. Actually 3 if you throw the mods in there. I'll shout out the mods a little bit at the end of the show. They did actually crown their champion this weekend, but you can go back and listen to the archives for continued conversations surrounding this conversation.
But between that and how many times Sheldon Creed has finished second, I think that's the highlight of this show's existence from the very start. We've been covering Sheldon Creed's second place finish record since the beginning, basically.
Yeah, well, really, I guess it was since Daniel Hemrick had that record going, and then he broke through and won. Still to this day, his only Xfinity Series race, and Sheldon Creed again. I mean, he was right up there. Was in 4th place. Not going to get a chance to do that this year. Championship 4 are set. Obviously, we already knew it was going to be Zilich and Allgaier, Jesse Love, and Carson Kvapil will be our championship 4, and we will give our picks for that here in just a moment. But first and foremost, Brandon, I want to ask you, I don't know if you had a chance to see the finish or were watching it live or whenever you got to catch up on it, but
yeah.
I was fully expecting Sammy Smith, knowing what was on the line, championship 4 bid, to potentially have a repeat of what we saw in the spring and send the 54 to the moon on the final lap. Reminiscent of what the 54 car did when Ty Gibbs was driving it 3 years ago to Brandon Jones, but it was a clean finish. And I think based on what happened with this series in the spring, you have to give the Xfinity Series driver some credit here.
Yeah, I think the entire paddock knew what was at stake here for this Martinsville race. This, if of all the races on the calendar, this is the one where it usually ends up being a sludge fest. And Sammy Smith had the same opportunity he did in the spring to do a little puntaroo. And for his career's sake, I'm glad he didn't. Even if that means he doesn't make it into the championship 4, there's going to be, with junior motorsports. And if you believe in your talent level, there's going to be another opportunity for that. So, Zilich, Allgaier, Love, and Kvapil, the championship 4, headed to Avondale. Sammy Smith not going to be a part of that, but I did see majority of the race and all the way to the finish, and just as surprised as you that we got a clean finish there for Martinsville, especially in the series that's been just so scrutinized for just playing wacky races and just sliding to the line.
Yeah, certainly a refreshing finish nonetheless. And again, looking at the championship standings here, we should also take a look at the Owners' Championship, because obviously we've got 2 areas where that's split. Eric Almirola and Austin Hill both won in this round. So the 19 with Joe Gibbs, 21 with Richard Childress. They are in the championship 4, as is obviously the 88 with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 7 with Kelly Earnhardt Miller. Those are your 4 owners going for the Owners' Championship fight. The number 2 with Richard Childress. And yeah, they are not obviously in the Owners' Championship fight, or the number 1 with LW Miller. Was trying to find that here on my screen. Remember who's listed as the owner. Obviously it's all junior motorsports, but that is technically LW Miller's number 1 car. The Carson Kvapil is driving, so they miss out on that. But the driver advances to the championship 4 nonetheless. So again, we'll see. It's the irony of this system. You've never won a race. Carson Kvapil has come close a couple of times, to be completely fair, but the opportunity is there to potentially bring the hardware back home to junior motorsports, but perhaps not with one of the 2 cars that would be the favorites. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We've seen it before. Obviously with Daniel Hemrick and Joe Gibbs Racing a few years ago. Also want to give a shout out, speaking of owners, I think a lot of people may have forgotten this, but he was at the winner's press conference. Ty Gibbs is the listed owner of that 54 car in the Xfinity Series. So not only is it a long time coming first win for Taylor Gray as a driver, it's the first win for Ty Gibbs as an owner in the Xfinity Series. So how about that?
Yep, the inherent owner of Joe Gibbs Racing, I presume. So getting it started early might pick him up an owner's title here.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, not this year, obviously. Before being eliminated, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be on that 54 car for a number of years, and then maybe other cars in the future as well. But we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. But another thing I want to mention here briefly, was pretty disappointed in Sam Mayer, I have to say. The interview that he gave post-race on the CW, just frankly terrible was the word that I used for it. Seemed like he was wanting to say certain things and then kind of restraining himself, but then saying, I've already gone this far, and saying I think some things that he's going to regret and potentially face a fine for, as well as his actions after the race before they got out of the cars on the cool down lap, intentionally spinning out Jeb Burton. Obviously, those two were going back and forth pretty much for the entirety of the race there, it seemed like. Clearly not happy with one another. But, man, Brad, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the I guess we can't really say altercation. I don't think it got too physical outside of the race cars, but it certainly did out on track. And Sam Mayer, I think, catching an evil eye from a lot of race fans, not too happy with his actions on Saturday night.
Yeah, I might regret some of the words said out loud, just getting out of the heat of the car. But yeah, he just stressed how much that Haas factory team has worked their tails off to get to this point and have a shot. And he just comes in with the understanding, I suppose, of just, it should just kind of be an understood code sort of thing that I'm fighting for a championship. Jeb Burton is not, and he needs to respect my authority and, not be in the way whenever it actually matters for me. It doesn't matter for you. And then it goes into the insult land, and, it says multiple times that he told Noah Lewis multiple times that he didn't have the it factor. He had the poop factor, just literally throwing poop towards him. Jordan Anderson, he said, basically, green to checkered, let's race. Anything after that is uncalled for when talking to front stretch. And then Jeb Burton told Noah Lewis he's a punk and everyone knows it. So, it's just one of those, you can't leave Martinsville without having something. So we did get something. It didn't have anything to do with the finish per se, but after the checkered flag, just hurt feelings. And, just the amount of effort that they put into racing nowadays, I dare say it's more hours of time commitment and time in the gym and all that than anything in NASCAR's history. I dare say that. Just training like athletes, the regimens, the restrictions, and all of that. It's life altering whenever you're at this level of racing, and so it's the emotions are that much higher whenever some literal Jeb Burton comes up and just messes up what you think messes up your shot at a potential title next weekend. So. I understand it from Sam Mayer's perspective, but and also just the heat of the moment, and maybe behind the mic does too. In defense of Sam, or maybe I'm just taking a shot at Jeb here, but Jeb drove like a dart without feathers at Talladega, which, yes, Sam also did bring up, thank you there, Matthew, which took out many cars, including Mayer, then drove the same way Saturday night. It doesn't make what Mayer does here correct, in my opinion, but he kind of played the blame shift, same as our last topic, kind of playing the blame shift like, well, he took out a bunch of cars last weekend at Talladega, so, but that's just all pride, and it's going to have to move on from that and go for the title next year, because, you can't change anything there after the checkered flag.
Yeah, I don't think it excuses, especially what happened after the checkered. I mean, if you don't know if somebody's already started loosening their belts or whatnot. And I guess you could argue maybe you shouldn't be doing that until your parts.
They tell you at the go-kart rental place, don't do any of that till everyone's in pit lane.
But the point is, like, the race is over. Anything that you want to discuss after that, get out of your car and talk about it on pit road. But don't sucker punch the guy either. And that's my shot at Austin Hill for you, Matthew. I hope you're satisfied with that. But just. Again, very, very frustrating interview from Sam Mayer there. And again, he's been around long enough. I think, almost 4 years in the Xfinity Series, if I remember correctly. So I would expect somebody like him who's been, openly saying, but he does want to move up. It's 4.5. Just pulled up his stats here. Ran the back half of 21. So 4.5 years in the Xfinity Series. You would expect somebody that's been with teams like Junior Motorsports and now Haas Factory to potentially be on the short list for a Cup Series seat, somebody who's won as many races. And I was honestly surprised when I looked up the stats after the race. He's won 8 races in the Xfinity Series. So you would think that this would be a guy that would be potentially attracting some interest from some Cup Series teams. Maybe this is part of why he's still in the Xfinity Series and hasn't gotten a chance to move up just yet.
And for someone to be able to say that someone else doesn't have the it factor, that just it infers that you are saying that you yourself have the it factor. But yeah, I mean, 8 races to back it up. It's still prideful to say it out loud, but yeah, I would say he's got some it factor for sure.
All right, let's move on here. Let's talk a little bit about Connor Zilisch. You see him down there in 9th place. So how about this? 18 straight races in the top 5. Now 2 straight races outside the top 5. Of course, got caught up in an incident at Talladega, so ended up 23rd there, only 9th at Martinsville. And looking back at the spring, he did win the race before at COTA, but then they went to Phoenix and he was only 16th there. Brandon, are you concerned at all about Connor Zilisch? It's hard to call this a bit of a skid or a bit of a slump considering how high his standards were set throughout the summer and into the early fall here. But do you think the possibility is there that the 88 team might be slipping a little bit and opening the door for either their teammates in Justin Allgaier or Carson Kvapil or RCR's Jesse Love?
Maybe in a world where we didn't have all this, he didn't have the extra days with sim work and, just having all that time to relax and focus on Phoenix and getting that together. So, I think with the Junior Motorsports program, he's going to have every possible ounce of his natural talent calibrated for Phoenix Raceway when we get there Saturday. So I think, for kind of putting the P16 in the past, I think he's going to have just as good a shot as the other 3 there, if not a little bit better, headed into Saturday. I don't think it's going to concern me at all whether Zilisch can take the title. Although that has been our talk here the past few weeks, though, is with the amount of wins that Zilisch has, would it be topsy turvy? If he ends up not taking the title. But I'm also on record as saying, it probably would be good for NASCAR to have to deal with Carson Kvapil winning the championship and, take your pick in Cup and trucks and make it just the worst possible outcome on all 3. It might be some good medicine to have to deal with that press into the offseason as you decide your next format.
Yeah, there is a part of me that wonders how loud the outcry is going to be. And I think Corey Heim to an even greater extent. We'll get into Heim here in just a moment. But again, a poor finish at Talladega and only finishing in the back end of the top 10, perhaps in the last 1 or 2 races of the year, I don't think should tank a season when it comes to crowning a championship. And if that happens here for Zilisch, we'll again find out what happens on Saturday night. Then again, I think NASCAR is going to have a large portion of the fan base very upset over the outcome of the Phoenix race, and we'll wait and see how they deal with that in the offseason. But again, that's the whole point of a discussion that we had at the beginning of the show here. So on that note, I guess let's make our championship predictions here for both the drivers and the owners, because we got 50% difference and split sort of battle there on the owner side of things. So Brandon, Connor Zilisch, Justin Allgaier, Jesse Love, Carson Kvapil, or the 19, 21, 88, 7. Who do you have for these respective championships in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for 2025?
I really don't have anybody yet, Ben. To be honest, I'm not gonna lay a finger on one, but I mean, going with the season at large, I've got to say Connor Zilisch is going to be able to step up there with the overtime restart that's inevitably going to come. I'd say he's going to put himself at least in the top 5 at that point. Is going to have a chance to fan it out into the dog leg and somehow come out on top. Might have to do some bumping on the way to get it done, but I'm sure he's prepared for that. And it might very well be that the strongest all year will hoist the trophy when it's all said and done. I think Connor Zilisch is my safe pick for Xfinity and the last Xfinity Series title as we head into the Nope Opera into next year.
All right. well, let's get Matthew Owen's thoughts here. In my mind, Connor is not the favorite at Phoenix. That's Allgaier, who's won there twice, and then Jesse Love, who's been in the top 10 in all 3 of his Phoenix starts. It's a very good point.
But favorites don't always win races.
That's true. That's true. And so on that note, well, let me back up here. I want to flash back to last year when Allgaier did win the championship. You'll recall Riley Herbst won that race, and Eric Almirola was again with the 20 car that time in the Owners' Championship fight. And I still remember Dale Jr. at the press conference afterwards saying, as the owner, I guess Kelly's technically the owner of the 7, but as the owner of Junior Motorsports, he didn't care as much about the owner's title. He just wanted Justin to get the drivers. So on that note, I think Austin Hill is going to pull a Riley Herbst. I think he's going to win the season finale at Phoenix. And with that, the 21 team owned by Richard Childress is going to win the Owners' Championship. But I do believe that Connor Zilisch, whether it's a second or a third or whatever, will be the highest finishing driver of a championship for, and he will hold on to the Drivers' Championship after this historic season that he has had, and he will be your 2025 Xfinity Series champion driver. Richard Childress will be your 25 champion owner. And that's my final answer.
I forget about that possibility. I like to call that the Greg Biffle scenario because he was always so famous for taking the championship races in years gone by. He just somehow was that master at Miami, never the champion, but always the last winner of the season. So yeah, that absolutely could happen for Austin Hill. Do we know about Eric Almirola? Is he coming to Phoenix?
Yes. Yeah,
it could very well be him too. I'd see him lighting up a storm, and I could see Eric Almirola punting a potential championship favorite to win the race.
Well, you remember what happened in the spring, right?
Exactly. I've got precedent.
You've got a championship on the line.
Yeah,
for Joe Gibbs, man.
Don't matter.
That's a possibility too. We'll wait and see, and it has happened. I still, the first year I watched the series, obviously we had full season points at that time, but Carl Edwards ran away with a Drivers' Championship in 2007. There was really no competition all year. He was the only full-time Cup Series driver that was bushwhacking, as it were, to that extent. But man, Jeff Burton and Scott Wimmer put their points together with the number 29 Holiday In-Car, and they won that owner's title. And there's that famous image of Roger Penske and Rick Hendrick doing the hat swap after I think William Byron won it in 2017, but Sam Hornish Jr. was driving the 22, and the 22 won the Owners' Championship. So it is hardly unprecedented. We could very well see a split championship over there, and we'll know soon enough here on Saturday night.
Hey, don't forget my boy Stephen Light. He's a part of that Holiday Inn gang too.
Not in 2007 though.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
But he
trying to give him some credit.
Yeah, you're right. When in 2009 Boyer came into that seat and Stephen Light picked up a few races. You are correct. All right, we move on now to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and once again, Corey Heim continuing to extend his record, winning once again here in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. His 11th win on the year, man. If he wins Phoenix, he's got 12 of the 25. It's almost a 50% win rate on the season. It's just spectacular what he has done this year, and I really hope that there is a full-time seat for him somewhere, if not in the Cup Series, at least in the Xfinity Series, because he certainly has shown that he is worthy of that and deserving of that with how he's run this year. He's won 4 of the 6 playoff races so far, and I think is overwhelmingly the favorite to take the championship. But Brandon, I got to tell you, I made a video, just kind of an unscripted commentary on Friday night. The Caden Honeycutt situation is pretty crazy here. He ends up finishing second. Lane Riggs finished third, got the fastest lap point to boot, but man, it was a 1-point difference between second and fifth in the championship fight to see who was going to move on. And Caden Honeycutt gets that 4th spot in a season where he got fired from Nice Motorsports, had to do one race with Young's Motorsports to stay full-time, and then settled into the 52. Unfortunately, after the incident that sidelined Stuart Friesen, and we continue to wish him the best in his recovery. Caden Honeycutt, who again, much like Carson Kvapil, has never won a race in NASCAR's Craftsman Truck Series. He is one race away from potentially spoiling the Heim time party and winning the Truck Series championship. So, Brandon, when you look at this championship 4 here, what's your reaction to seeing Caden Honeycutt's name as a part of that?
Well, First off, congratulations for making it that far, despite the firing and all of that. That's some perseverance right there. And Caden Honeycutt as a driver deserves every bit of that as far as his career has been to get to this point, a shot at a title. It'd be the Cinderella story of the year, and it would be enough to light people on fire. Like, wow, how did Corey Heim not win that championship? I also see, the Corey Heim factor. He can't not win, like everywhere he goes. So like, what you'd be silly to pick against him. That might be the one series where what's supposed to happen does happen. But also Ty Majeski, he comes to mind as someone who can just come out of nowhere and pick it. Yeah, well, exactly. I guess that's why it comes to mind, because he's the defending title holder. But he can come into Phoenix and just take care of business, and he's got the truck to prove it. Although ThorSport, if they don't win this weekend, it'll be, I think I told you, the first time since 2007.
I think so, yep.
That they will go winless. So that would be a big script reverser right there for Majeski. He's got every ounce of talent to do it. And then, especially when we get around the fall to winter months, because he's thinking about Snowball Derby most likely, so he's getting into his A game. It's his peak time of the year. And then Tyler Ankrum might be third strongest here. Honeycutt feels like the Cinderella story. Ankrum probably the third, an easy third there. That's all I can really say about it. Heim should and better win, but Majeski could come and steal, and then anything else would just be a mind blower.
Yeah, part of me feels like the only thing that can beat Corey Heim is a mechanical or engine failure, or situation like we had.
Corey Heim. The only person who could beat Corey Heim is Corey Heim.
Corey Heim makes a rare mistake. That's also true. Or it's a situation like we had with Carson Hocevar a couple of years ago, and the entire mess that finish to that race became, and Ben Rhodes and Grant Imping are coming together at the very end to finish 1-2 in the standings there after Corey and Carson got into it. But yeah, man, it is absolutely wild. And you bring up a good point as well. Majeski also has not won a race this year. Now he is on a streak of top 5s and top 10s that dates all the way back to Pocono, well before the playoffs began. So it's not like he hasn't been running up front.
It's a strong truck, just not a winning truck.
Yeah, and you look at the year. I guess Jake Garcia squeaked into the playoffs there, but Ben Rhodes, 2-time champion with ThorSport, didn't make the playoffs. Matt Crafton, kind of going out with a whimper instead of a bang. He's 15th in points right now, didn't make the playoffs, having one of the worst seasons in his career in a couple of decades, to be quite honest. It has been a down year for ThorSport when you look past Majeski, but even then, Majeski hasn't broken through and visited victory lane yet this year. So Phoenix would be the perfect time to do it. Obviously, he did that last year and was able to kind of walk off with a championship victory. But one more thing we should also note, I mentioned the split owners championship in Xfinity. There's a split owners championship situation going on in trucks right now because of the Friesen injury and the way that the driver swaps kind of played out here. The 34 truck that was driven by Lane Riggs had a couple more bonus points in, I believe this was the situation. There was a difference in regular season bonus points for the regular season championship that lifts the 34 truck up a couple spots. And because the margins were so close, the 34 owned by Bob Jenkins is in the owners championship for the truck series. The 18 owned by Bill McAnally, that's a truck that Tyler Ankrum drives, is not. So on the drivers championship side of things, it is, of course, Corey Heim, Ty Majeski, Tyler Ankrum, and Caden Honeycutt. But on the owner's side, it is Johnny Gray at Tricon Garage, Chris Larson at Halmar Friesen, Bob Jenkins at front row, and then Mike Kerb at ThorSport. Those are your 4 owners. So take the 18 out, put the 34 in. So it is possible. Again, Lane Riggs has been very strong this year, won a handful of races. There could also be a split owners championship decided on the truck series side of things as well. All right, so we will keep our eye on that. I guess on that note, Brandon, who would be your championship pick here? Again, not as much of a split decision on the owner side. So if you want to go with Lane Riggs in the 34, I suppose you can make that known here. But of the 4 drivers, Corey Heim, Ty Majeski, Tyler Ankrum, Caden Honeycutt. Who is your pick? I think we all know who the obvious one is, but are you going to stay firm in that decision that?
Yeah, I can't move. There's no way I can move.
Else?
Yeah. Corey Heim is the obvious pick. Majeski is the obvious steal to me, and then again, anything else would be the Cinderella story, and also the upheaval of NASCAR Twitter.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's fitting that this is the first race on Friday night because man, it's if it's not Corey Heim, you might see NASCAR Twitter kind of burn to the ground here. Especially, I mean, it's going to also depend on how it happens.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
And again, I don't wish this on him at all, but I'm going to say it again. If Corey Heim doesn't win the championship, I hope it is because he lost a tire or he lost a motor or he got taken out by a lap truck or something just ridiculous and stupid. Because if it's just, he finished second to Ty Majeski. Majeski was strongest when the lights were the brightest, and that's how it works. And I think they're going to.
They just replaced all those lights too at Phoenix. They're really bright. They just all new bulbs.
Yeah, but again, I think if that happens, then they're going to have that defense in their back pocket ready to go. But if it's a situation where one of these backmarker trucks here, and I'm not going to single out anybody in particular, but if it's a situation where one of them is running a few laps down and doesn't get out of the racing line quick enough, and Corey's coming with a head of steam and just runs it, or what if one of them loses a tire? We've seen that with Tim Schendel in the past with Kyle Busch running in the back of him in the Nationwide Series, and then a few years later with David Starr and Noah Gragson. Guys that were fighting for the win or guys that looked set to be cruising home to a win. It could happen. I'm not wishing it on Corey Heim at all, but if he doesn't win the championship, I hope it's because of something like that and not simply because he finished second and just didn't have what it took when the lights were the brightest.
Keep this in your back pocket. 2 laps to go here at Phoenix. Oh, and there's a spin. Clayton Green. You might want to just, overlay that over the actual broadcast later. We'll see if it worked.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how it turns out. I, of course, am also going to pick Corey Heim. And again, if it's not, it's going to be a very interesting night. Friday night on NASCAR Twitter, I can tell you that much. All right. Let's close out the show with a quick open segment here. I won't keep everybody waiting too long, but I didn't bring this up on last week's show because number one, we had enough to talk about anyway, but number two, I wanted to give Grid Tonight the first opportunity to react to this. We got word a little more than a week ago of what's going to happen with the F1 TV rights here in the United States, and ESPN's contract will not be renewed. F1 has instead decided to go with Apple TV as the exclusive broadcast partner for the next 5 years. That'll take them through 2030. And in my opinion, that is a massive risk that they are taking. I don't care how good the coverage or broadcast quality is, because I think Apple TV is not on the level of a Netflix or a Prime Video, which NASCAR has had some success with. It's probably ahead of Peacock, which IndyCar did not have very much success with over those couple of years that they tried those Peacock exclusive races at Toronto. But it does have me a little bit nervous about F1's growing popularity here. And we just saw it again, the U.S. Grand Prix last week. I don't believe the Mexico City Grand Prix ratings are out yet. If somebody has them, feel free to put them in the chat. But I feel like those usually come out Tuesday or Wednesday. But the U.S. Grand Prix smashing a record again, and NASCAR continuing to kind of dip a little bit this time of year with the playoffs. That gap getting smaller, and of course the 1849 demo, it's still, obviously not even close with NASCAR being even lower and F1 continuing to skyrocket in popularity. I just don't know that putting it behind a paywall streaming service is a way to continue that momentum forward. And I know Apple did the F1 movie, and that got good reviews from a lot of people. A lot of fans enjoyed that, and there's surely going to be some tie-ins there and some opportunities that they come with that. I don't doubt that the people behind this deal are going to be passionate and want to put out good, high-quality coverage, but if people aren't willing to create yet another account for yet another streaming service, then
pay another fee.
Matter.
If you don't have it, another fee. by the way, shut up and take my money. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's the right way to go for the United States. Because I mean, look, ABC, ESPN, Ben, those are synonymous with sports. I mean, that's a duh statement, but really though, the way I've seen Formula One on ESPN is like, okay, it's on ESPN. Why? Because more than, I mean, as much as I believe this or not, more than any other motorsport in the world, they are the truest athletes, as far as body conditioning and
Sure. Yeah.
I mean they are, yeah, like they are fighter pilots. I mean, IndyCar is a close second, but like again, whether I believe this or not, because I know I'm killing some people by saying that, but like Formula One is like the ultimate, like this is where the athletes are who are on four wheels. And so it seems so natural for me to see it on ESPN and to also have Formula One results along with your US Open on the ticker, the ESPN ticker,
Sports Center,
yeah, you got sports results, and then boom, you got Formula One Belgian Grand Prix. It just goes hand in hand. That's a good thing for the US market. And the other thing is, to have that recognition of like, wow, there are MLB for an American, MLB, NFL, Formula One. They're all big boy sports. Even for your happy-go-lucky, your casual dude, or girl, like that's where they can associate ESPN with Formula One, and also just having it on the races that go to ABC. I can't imagine taking that away and expecting things to be better in the United States. It's just really unfortunate that it's gonna move to Apple TV. I think only MLS fans are on Apple TV and people who like Severance. But I can't think of much else. Peanuts fans.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'll get into MLS in just a moment, but and MLB as well as experimented.
Yeah, they get their Friday night games, whatever it is.
But just think, I want people to think of it this way: how many times are you going to go to, or in the last, I guess this is the 8th year now that ESPN's had the rights. You walk into a bar on a Sunday afternoon or a restaurant, and you see over the bar you've got maybe it's not even intentional. Maybe they just have a TV set to ESPN because that's sports, right?
Or ABC,
and it's on, or even if it's not, even if they have FS1 on, or if they have multiple TVs, you can ask them, hey, bartender, can you switch over to ESPN? We want to watch the race. Hey, can you turn ESPN2 on? Can you turn ABC on? How many bars do you think have the capability to say,
can you log into Apple TV?
Can you log into Apple TV? I'll give you my login to Apple TV if you don't have it. And then click over here and then find it and then select it. And that is so much more of a hassle. And I'm sure there are going to be some, F1 arcade is, if they've got, bars set up or whatever, there's going to be some places that have.
They're going to prepare for that naturally. Right, yeah. But I mean, you're El Mexico down the road. Like, they're going to have a hard time.
Well, they're not going to have any time. I don't think it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, unless they want to set up a Roku and pay for that subscription and as a business, and
exactly right. And you can say that's only X number of TVs, but how many casual? I mean, you want to talk about the casual racing fan, right? How many fans might say, "Oh, that looks interesting," or "Hey, I think I've heard about that before."
Yep.
Ferrari and McLaren and Red Bull and Mercedes and all that. Oh, Verstappen, Hamilton, Piastri and Norris, and I feel like I've heard that on Sports Center, right? Like, what is this all about? Oh, I heard about that movie that just came out, right? What does it look like in real life?
They're about to lose one of their biggest billboards, and that's being on air at a Chili's as people walk in. It's everywhere.
That's the perfect word for it. Is your biggest billboard is now going to be gone. And I will say this, and Brandon, you brought up MLS. I'm repping my Union tonight. Boy, they don't make it easy for themselves. They were up 2-0 with just a few minutes to go, and then gave up 2 goals, and we had to go to penalties. And the MLS playoffs are worse than the NASCAR playoffs, by the way. Don't get me started on, how I feel about the NASCAR playoffs. Don't get me started on Major League Soccer's playoff system. But anyway, that's all beside the point. talking about the Apple TV deal that they signed a few years ago, the MLS Season Pass. At the very least, what F1 has going for it is it sounds like this is not going to be a paywall within a paywall, right? This is not going to be a separate add-on that you have to purchase on top of your existing subscription. And so that, I think, will certainly help things to a degree. But, again, I go back to MLS, which I think is the best example. And man, I've heard for years, soccer is the fastest growing sport in America. And
yeah, I've been hearing that for a while.
NBC's rolling in the money with their Premier League TV contract and everything. And the greatest player in the history of the sport is now in our league with Inter Miami. Last year's final was LA Galaxy and New York Red Bulls, the two biggest markets in the country, two teams that, it's not like they're brand new expansion sides. The LA Galaxy are an original team. New York Red Bulls, they haven't always been called the Red Bulls, but they've been around for a very long time, trying to win their first MLS Cup. Galaxy trying to win their sixth. Lots of big storylines. And you had an article come out from Awful Announcing. First of all, that one was at least simulcast on a network, Fox Television. So at the very least, Fox still has the rights to show a few big matches. I don't believe ESPN or ABC or whoever's going to get that with this F1 deal. So I guess that's where MLS has a slight edge over F1. But the ratings for last year's MLS Cup, despite everything I just laid out, were so abysmal that it left you wondering, was anybody watching the MLS Cup final on Apple TV? Because they don't release the exact numbers, which usually is a sign that they weren't very good, rather. But from deductive reasoning, the stats that they put out about how many people were logged in and browsing Apple TV as the game was going on, and then after the game ended, trying to figure out the numbers from there. It sounded like maybe it was like 65,000, I think, that were watching on Apple TV behind the paywall, and only not even 500,000 on Big Fox. And so, again, for a sport where there is so much momentum and so much opportunity in a league that has so much going for it on the surface, and plenty of diehard fans. People might disagree with me, but I personally think, as somebody that's really gotten into watching the Union the last few years, and trying to keep up with how Miami's doing as a Messi fan and everything, I like what Apple's doing with their coverage. I think their coverage is certainly very strong. But and it's great if you're a diehard because you get every game, every match, every team every week. But how do you bring the casuals in? How do you take somebody that might have some interest but they don't want to pay,
right?
Whatever,
over $150 a year. Yeah, and that's not even the season pass. But
on top of whatever it is, $100 a year, but you're already paying for the base Apple TV.
Well, it's the price increase now. I was trying to say $150 is the base price, and then season pass would be added on to that.
Is it $100? Man,
$12.99.
I got emails from HBO Max. I've got emails from Peacock that they're raising their price. It's
everyone's doing it at once.
It is so not sustainable. It just drives me insane. Yeah, but yes, but that again, even more reason to believe that you're going to have a very hard time pulling in new fans and new subscribers through this contract that has been announced here. I listened to our own Kobe Lambeth on Wednesday night saying, he might have to get Apple TV, but he's a night owl. A lot of the races are in Europe. He's probably not getting up at 9 a.m. to watch those races anyway. Is it really going to be worth getting Apple just to watch the U.S. and Mexico and Brazil, or staying up to watch Japan if it starts at midnight or 1 a.m.? If you're only going to watch a third of a season anyway, you're probably not going to be able to justify paying for another subscription service on top of paying for Prime to watch the NASCAR races and paying for Peacock to watch the IMSA races. And I don't know if IndyCar is ever going to go to Fox One or whatever this new service is. But again, that's another perhaps unintended consequence here. This is a big opportunity for IndyCar. Every race on Big Fox, boy, they got to get their act together, because if they had momentum and energy right now, this would be a prime opportunity for them to take some of that from Formula One. But goodness knows that series has a lot that they've got to sort out as well. So it's going to be interesting at the very least. And again, I hope that the coverage is good. And I already have Apple TV because, again, watching the MLS matches, watching Ted Lasso, and a couple of other shows and documentaries on there. I'm going to be fine. And even if I didn't, I think I watch enough F1 that I would be willing to make the splurge here. But a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people can't, even if they wanted to. They can't justify spending that much money. So it's a risk. I don't know if that extra $50 million is going to be worth it, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's just the ratings will show. The ratings will tell, I guess, over through 2030.
If they publish them.
If we can even see.
You gotta wonder if that's going to happen either. But I guess if they're good, we'll know, right? Peacock wasn't shy about 23 million people watching whatever it was, Chiefs Dolphins at that wild card game a couple of years ago. But when it's the IndyCar race at Toronto, it was in line with our projections, whatever that means.
Now, I guess my other question would be: is this the end of Sky Sports F1, like the native broadcast? If Apple TV is, they're worldwide and going to be a part of it, are we going to get Crofty and Brundle transitioning over to Apple TV, or what does that look like? Do we know?
I don't know if that was meant. Again, if anybody's got it in the chat, they want to put it in there, feel free. I don't know if that was mentioned. I would assume, based on what happened when Liberty Media took over and NBC, I mean, that was Will Buxton, I remember, went on Sky Sports and said, I'm sitting here unemployed largely because of decisions that Liberty's made and wanting to have one broadcast team for both the UK and the United States with ESPN, and was still optimistic about what Liberty might be doing. But, again, that's kind of beside the point here. But, I would assume that, again, for whether it's cost saving purposes or whatever, that they would still be willing to simulcast there and work out a deal with Sky. But here we go. Do we have it in the chat here? Or no, this is Kobe talking about Colton Herta. But again, that's another good point.
That's a great reason to get Apple TV in 2026, in my opinion. Yeah.
In F2 on Apple TV.
It's gonna be a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read the fine print. I don't know if that was part of the deal, but
it's got to include F2 and F3. I mean, if they're taking it all from ESPN, that's
again, everything changes so quickly. I feel like it used to be F2 was on ESPN3. Like if you log in with your cable provider to the ESPN app, you can get the F2 races. If you wanted to watch F3, you had to splurge for ESPN Plus. But now ESPN's gone direct to consumer with the all new ESPN app. I mean, it just again it changes so rapidly, but it's very difficult to keep up with. But yes, I would assume that it's still going to be that kind of world feed for the English speaking broadcast that Sky puts out there. You always hear Crofty and Brundle say, we welcome you on Sky Sports wherever you're watching us in the world. But it would be interesting. I know people there have certainly been people that say, we miss Diffie Hobbs and Matchett or Bob Barsha here in the States, and they wish ESPN would put a little bit more of their own production team together.
Right.
We'll wait and see. But a lot of unknowns. And again, I'm optimistic that for the diehards, it might be a pretty good production. But, you have to bring in the people that are just flipping to ESPN too and getting introduced to the sport that way. And I don't know that you're going to have nearly as much success with that with this Apple deal as you've had for the last 8 years with ESPN.
You mix that and also the partnership with Disney in 2026. It's going to be some different times. Hopefully that will include maybe I'm hoping we get just keep on merging. Let's just get Disney and Apple to marry each other, and we'll get by some way we'll get Formula One back on Disney Plus.
I cannot wait for every streaming service to merge under one monopoly as cable TV plus.
Big cable,
yes. we will have officially reinvented the wheel. Except now we'll have,
but you have to pay for all of them individually
to remember.
Right. Oh, it's a mess. It's unsustainable, like you said.
Yeah. It's gonna be. Who knows where we'll be in 5 years, much less 10 or 15. But
5 years ago looks so much different.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, really did.
I remember when Netflix came through the mail.
There you go.
Okay. Old man yells at cloud.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, Brandon, let's end on a slightly more positive, optimistic note here tonight. Do you have a one shining moment for us from this past weekend at Martinsville?
Well, now that I need to turn my Formula One, get that off the brain. Wanted to give one shining moment to Taylor Gray. Congratulations on your first win. Winning still means everything, even though you weren't in the fight for the championship. So congratulations on getting that taken care of. You could just see the relief, from the Victory Lane interview, finally getting that done, and also I guess a couple more. Thank you, Sammy Smith, for not doing the Punterino, and then also congratulations, Brandon Jones, on a mighty valiant effort in trying to make it into the championship 4, and also for a not too shabby 2025 season. A lot to look forward to for him as well, and he might just stay where he's at for 2026 as much as he's been moving around and everything. But the highlighter yellow will stay with him. I imagine until he's all done. But he might get to stay where he is, and I'd say it's a pretty solid year for 2025 for him.
Yeah, glad you brought up Brandon Jones, Brandon, because I think that again, it's a driver that gets sometimes some. I think maybe deserved, maybe undeserved criticism, depending on how harsh it is. But he has had very good equipment in his Xfinity Series career and has not broken through with as much success as some of his teammates have. And he's bounced around quite a bit. But, I know, and Junior was saying this on his podcast a few weeks ago, too. It's unfortunate that when he was in the 9 car, but it didn't work out the same way to have that success and make it into the playoffs and make a championship run. But he gave it a fight this year, and you can't be mad at him for that. So, well done. Obviously came up a little bit short, but we'll see if he's back next year, if he can maybe close the deal. Should have been in the championship 4 in 2022, and we'll see if he gets that chance next year in 26. All right. Well, we don't have a results graphic tonight. I apologize for that. I should have asked Joe to put one together, but the Modified Tour ended their season this week at Martinsville too. Justin Bonsignor came in second in points and did everything he needed to do, winning the race at Martinsville, but Austin Beers followed him home in P2, and that was good enough for the modified title. One of, if not the youngest champions in the history of that series. So well done, Austin Beers. I'm sure he's got a bright career ahead of him. And Justin Bonsignor as well. Again, talking about champions and potential future Hall of Famers or lifers in lower series. Justin Bonsignor certainly is among that group, and congratulations to him as well on another great season, even though he came up just short of a title. That is my one shining moment, and congratulations to him as well. Filling in for William Sawalich, we continue to wish him well in his recovery. Bonsignor finally got a top 10 for Joe Gibbs in the Xfinity Series, driving that 18 car in substitute for him. So well done to him on Saturday for that Xfinity effort as well. Probably could have even finished a little bit higher. I think he was running into around the top 5 for a lot of a race also. So hoping he gets some more opportunities next year at that level, because I think he thoroughly deserves it. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you so much for tuning in to us here once again, sticking with us through the conversations that we've enjoyed having all throughout the last 4 years here. Hard to believe we've only got 2 shows after this one, but if you liked what you saw tonight, make sure you follow Grid Network at Grid Network TV on all our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky, whatever microblogging platform you're using these days. We're on all 3 of them, as well as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to us right here on the YouTube channel and visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Now, if you really liked what you saw this evening, you can take a few minutes after the show and consider joining our Patreon. Join Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew, and our newest member, Crystal, as well, in investing in the Grid Network to help us expand our coverage throughout the rest of these last few weeks of 2025 and into 2026 and beyond. You can also become a member of the Grid Network YouTube channel, or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can tip us through Super Chat or Super Thanks, or visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below as well. Any amount will help us continue to grow the Grid Network as a motorsports media outlet. Now, looking ahead at our upcoming schedule, as always, Grid Tonight will be back on Wednesday with all the latest news in the world of motorsports, so stay tuned for that. And our pre-race show coverage for NASCAR Championship Weekend at Phoenix. Actually, 4 championships we're going to be crowning. We expect Trevor Huddleston will clinch the ARCA West Championship fairly easily. Obviously, the other 3 all up for grabs with the championship 4 drivers in trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. And we'll have a wrap-up show this weekend recapping all the action, and then we'll see you back here on a 166 3/4 hour break for the penultimate episode of the Grid Encore show, again, at least in its current form. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, just a couple of gripes. It costs $20 a month to watch Memphis Grizzlies or Nashville Predators, which I don't pay because I don't want to do that. So I hear those on the radio. That's why I'm a Seattle Kraken fan and whoever I find in the NBA for whatever I feel like that. I'm also wearing my failure shirt today because even the Vanderbilt Commodores could beat the Tennessee Titans this year, and I would even think Tennessee Tech might even beat, and I don't like Tennessee Tech as a football team, but even they might be able to beat the Titans this year, and that's not an exaggeration. It's been absolutely dreadful, and there's nothing you can do to stop it other than getting the ownership out of the equation, selling the team, and get someone who wants to keep it in Nashville. My goodness, what a mess. But excited we get to crown all the champions next weekend. But more importantly, we wrap up what's been an awesome Grid Encore show here really soon, and bittersweet for that, but also excited for what's ahead, and also excited to see whatever changes. Hopefully, better be some changes for this format, and get to discuss what we're given on Christmas Day.
Yeah, we'll certainly keep our eye on that. I don't know, Brandon. I mean, they said this when the Cleveland Browns went 1-31 over 2 years. Could Alabama beat them? But I think sometimes we underestimate just how big the gap is between literal professionals and grown men and college athletes. I think you might be selling your Tennessee Titans a little bit short there.
I don't know, Jim. It's been pretty bad.
It has, and
if there's one thing Tennessee can do is Joey Sly can kick a field goal. We've been kicking some field goals this year.
There you go.
Yeah,
a lot of kickers have been tearing it up all year. But
yeah.
All right. Well, a few weeks ago, I brought up the point on this show talking about Colton Herta and his F2 journey next year. If Ryan Blaney won the championship, he'd be super license eligible, but Colton Herta wouldn't. That obviously won't happen. Ryan Blaney finished second to William Byron yesterday, and that means William Byron is the one in the championship for. So we don't have to have that conversation next year. However, Joey Logano won the championship last year. Ryan Blaney finished second. William Byron was third. That's 10 points. If William Byron wins the championship next weekend, that's 15 points. If he wins it again in 2026, it's another 15 points. That would put him at the 40 that he needs to be lined up next to Colton Herta. And he drives a Chevrolet already. Hey, GM. Colton Herta, William Byron, your 2027 Cadillac lineup. What do you think of that, Brandon?
I think you're just having fun there. It's none of it is realistic, but I applaud you for keeping track of that and for trying.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just having some fun here with the super license system, but there is a mathematical possibility to keep your eye out for. Of course, it all goes away, of course, if Byron doesn't win the championship this weekend. But
right.
We'll keep our eye on the Cup Series, obviously, as well as Xfinity Trucks, and see who's lifting the championship trophies. Of course, a lot of people hoping that it's Corey Heim and Connor Zolch at the very least. The Cup Series might be a little bit more open, but it should be an entertaining weekend nonetheless at Phoenix Raceway. So we'll bring you all the coverage next week here on, the penultimate episode of Grid Encore. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. We'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. We'll see you to recap Phoenix.